referring to a service. Let's just accommodate them both, because in the doctor's world, the practitioner perspective referring to an individual is typically how they think. In the rest of the community world, it's more the healthcare service. So let's just make it more complicated and just deal both. You could probably, if you're going to do just one, it would be the healthcare service perspective, but I think we can handle doing both. The bottom line, though, what I was getting at is from the provider directory, that's what you're trying to find. You're trying to find that reference. Somewhere in the internet will be the address for the information about that practitioner, like sort of the core one, right? And it's going to be, you know, abc.com/healthcareservice/1234. Right? When I go to that URL, I'm going to see the phone number and the fax number and the details, and contained in that payload is going to be the endpoint for where I need to send that eReferral to. So if I've got the healthcare service ID, and I've got the endpoint that's going to be used for that, that's all the information I need to route my referral. And you can publish any number of types of directories. As long as it's got that information, you can send it off to the right spot. So that's part one of the process. And that's, if you see from the send box over to receive, what you do is you bundle up your payload using the service request resource, it's called, and it's connected to another 15 different resources. And you send it off to the destination based on your endpoint and your healthcare service. And that is the eReferral server, the third column in there, is the one who's responsible for receiving your referral. All right? So now I've received my referral. It's packaged up with all this information. What is the role of the eReferral server? Well, it is going to be the one who, in a sense, owns that data, owns that referral, and owns the processing of that referral. If I want to complete the referral, if I want to add an appointment to the referral, if I want to change the status of the referral, that's all done at the eReferral server side. And it's going to be communicating back to the sender saying, here's a copy of the referral you just sent, only now it's been updated with, you know, we fixed the phone number, maybe, or we've added an appointment, whatever it might be, and we've added an appointment resource that it references in the data model. But the most interesting thing that it does, the eReferral server, it adds the task resource. So the task resource is part of the, I think it's new-ish, like workflow module that's in FHIR. I think it's changed a fair bit between the last version and this version. It's going to change again in the next one. And it handles the whole concept of when you're moving something through a process, how does its status change? And in the eReferral world, you can have tons of different statuses. You can have submitted, you can have booked, you can have waitlisted, you can have waiting for approval, you can have dead, you can, right? There's all kinds of things that can happen with that referral, and those can be completely dependent on what your business process is. And the default just service request status isn't good enough to cover that base, but the task resource, which is the foundation of the whole workflow module in FHIR, is really good at that. So the job of the eReferral server is to attach the task resource onto that referral, and when the referral is done, it's going to mark that task as complete, and it's going to attach all of the additional business level statuses. So once the eReferral server has done its thing, it might want to actually pass that information or relay it, we say, onto a recipient system. So maybe the receiving service provider's EMR or the case management system. You just take that package, you relay it on, you use it with a smart structure, and then they've got it. They can ingest it into the EMR and display it. And once we sort of agree on using the common specification for the way that we structure the payload, it's pretty easy to just fire these payloads off to the destinations for where you want to go. So one spot, like I say, is going to be the EMR vendor system you send it off. But in Ontario, there's talks of doing a eReferral registry or a repository, right? So in addition to sending it to the EMR, I might say, you know what, I'm going to relay another copy of it, structured the exact same way. I don't have to worry about doing some fancy extra design of my integration to a repository. I just send the same package off, and the repository takes it and puts it into a FHIR-based repository. You might want to add an additional destination to where it's going to go, like maybe there's a patient portal that that patient has, and you want to send a copy of it off to that destination. Or maybe the repository that got it can then be sent back up to the patient portal. There's all kinds of different ways in which this information can flow. So that is the basic flow of an eReferral. And that's what I would call the API-based back-end method, direct method of sending an eReferral. That works really well if you've got like your basic referral. You've got your reason for referral, which is like patient has been referred because of X, Y, and Z, the first name, the last name, phone number. But what if you have something more complicated, right? What if you have a form with conditional logic on it, or you have a form with very specific fields that couldn't be captured in an EMR? maybe it's really complex eligibility criteria that you need to make sure that they've met all the eligibility criteria. Well, how do we handle that? Without the process just being, oh, I'm going to send off the referral and see if they reject it. You want the process to be, making sure it works at the start. So that's the process where you can introduce what I would say is a SMART on FHIR app for referral services that you can refer to. So a service that you can refer to, it has its own SMART on FHIR app. You publish the URL of your SMART on FHIR app, maybe in a directory somewhere, and then if someone wants to make a referral to that service, they just launch a SMART app. It opens up within the view of your existing application, and then the receiving application can present its own business logic. It can be as simple as presenting just a form, right? First name, last name, and everything to fill out. It can get more advanced, like a complex form with conditional logic. It can start providing decision support. Maybe it's going to suggest other things that you should refer to. Or you could even refer to a service that helps you refer to services, right? So the SMART on FHIR window is going to be maybe even a directory. It'll start with a directory where it has all the things you could possibly refer to. It helps you find the right one based on different characteristics of who you are as a patient and on your location. And then you match the right one, pick the service, and then presents you the referral form. So that's like that's the whole referral process all contained within a SMART on FHIR window. And it's sort of the idea of sending a referral to each destination, like I say, having its own SMART on FHIR app that enables you to launch that and do the advanced business logic in the context of that window. So that's the two main methods. Sort of a direct way for simple referrals, and then a SMART on FHIR window for advanced business logic. That's kind of the main. I think it's a really interesting idea, and I think it's very doable and can provide some really useful functionality for people who are making referrals. So that is my quick presentation. Any questions? From being done. So today at Code Camp, we got 7 different applications connected together to send eReferrals, whether they're senders or receivers or different parts of the puzzle. So it's like Strata and Caredove and Smile CDR and Ocean and AlayaCare and from the Cerner sandbox, so you can launch from Cerner, from the SMART on FHIR sandbox, and I would say that's in the prototype phase of where it is. So we're at a spot where we can demonstrate the process with real systems. But it's going to be another bunch of months of collaboration of actually, the last 20% can be 80% of the work. Yeah.
My question is regarding closed-loop communication between a requester and a recipient system and where patient sits in. Like, for example, if patient is sent from a requesting service to some recipient service, and in the middle of transfer of that patient doesn't show up as a recipient, or they show up and then on the other side, requester needs to know where that patient is, who is actually monitoring that. Is there any monitoring available, or who is responsible?
So the bottom half of this diagram, which I didn't talk about, all of those bunch of lines on the bottom is the update process. So in your receiving system, this is one of the most important parts of eReferrals, is communicating the outcome of that referral back to the sender. No-show is an outcome. The question was, how do you feed back information to the sender if they're no-show, basically? So the receiver of the referral would go either to the eReferral server or to a recipient system that's communicating with an eReferral server, put in the message about what happened in that referral. They showed up, they didn't show up, I need more information, and that information would get passed back to the referral sender. Probably, we haven't gone in depth in this, probably using the communication resource in FHIR, and each of those communication resources would then get attached to supporting information to the service request resource.
Okay. Just one more. My second question is regarding the contents of the referral made. Like, for example, if most of the time a physician is sending a patient, so they write a note, sometimes it's one-liner note, sometimes it's like a full page of notes in there. Mm-hmm. So while the system is sending that request for the referral, so that content is part of the request, or it's just uploaded somewhere and then retrieved at the recipient side? Yeah,
the content is part of the request. Because often when you do integrations, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're in an internal closed system, like in a hospital, you might design your structure so that you're actually just, this resource is over here, I'm going to put a reference to that resource. I'm going to go kind of get it dynamically as I do my actions. But when you're doing activities between different organizations and you don't have that tight coupling, you want to send the entire package, right? So we'll create a bundle resource. We'll put all of our patient resource in there, our service request, our observations, or whatever it might be. Send it over sort of all in one go. So we're doing it as a REST structure, but it's kind of, you can kind of think of it as a message almost, with the only thing that we're referencing being the healthcare service. So yeah, we sort of bundle it up together and fire it over. And that's why it's really important to say that it's the eReferral server who like owns the source of truth for that referral, because we might be sending the entire package back to the requester system as the update, you know, and it's got to sort of match it back up with what it sent in the first place. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, related to the last question, does the spec cover how to structure any content in an eReferral? For example, there might be specific fields that are being looked for by the physician who is getting the referral, and you might want to have those as required fields to be filled out by the referring physician.
Yeah, so that's probably the scenario where I'd say like SMART on FHIR starts to be really useful, because you can embed that logic, this is a required field, into the presentation layer of the form. When you're setting it just through the data structure, the only thing you can really do is if a field is required, all you can really do is send an error message back and reject it. And the processing of that is kind of difficult to program from the center perspective. So you can do it, but it's not great. You can do something a little bit more advanced with the questionnaire resource, right? So there's a questionnaire and questionnaire response resource. Those are great too. One of the realities in the eReferral world, though, is that like a bunch of the eReferral systems, like everybody's kind of built their own form builder. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to, everyone sort of has to start from scratch and build your own form builder. It's great to do it. I think everybody should do it. But there's going to be just some realities in that process of getting it done. Yeah.
Just a quick question. Is the eReferral server able to operate as a queue? And the reason I'm asking this is there were some NHS trusts that found they could reduce wait times by more than 50% just by doing better queue management as opposed to the collegial person-to-person referral. So could we use the eReferral server as a queue and then just do like a FIFO stack and have cardiologists getting the next one off the queue?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Any of those types of workflows, I would say, are possible. So one of the things that you might have built into your eReferral server, it's not just capable of receiving this information, but like there's an application behind that in most cases, right? And one of its functions might be exactly what you said is, okay, this is an eReferral server that does queue management, and maybe it's designed specifically for a central intake type of process, right? And you got people just sort of taking off the top or picking and choosing or finding whatever your process is. You can design that process to be whatever you want, like whatever the functionality of that eReferral server is. And it's going to be, it could be different eReferral servers for different processes that are good at different things. Yeah, so I'd say absolutely yes. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you.
Especially for